Have you ever felt like you're living out a script someone else wrote? Like you're repeating the same mistakes, the same pain over and over again? What if I told you you have the power to tear up that script? We often find ourselves trapped in cycles, patterns, or behaviors and emotions, don't we? These patterns passed down through generations can feel like invisible chains, binding us to inherited pain and limitations. But here's the truth. You are not destined to simply replay the past. The thing about generational patterns is that they feel normal because they've always been there. But just because something is familiar doesn't mean that it's right. And the truth is, not every pattern has to continue. And today we're going to talk about why and how you can break the cycle. First of all, let's try to understand what's the term generational trauma. It's not just genetics, it's behaviors, reactions, and emotional wounds passed down through generations. Sometimes it's obvious, like a history of addiction, abuse, or financial struggles. Other times we see it in the subtle yet pervasive effects of emotional neglect, the crippling fear of failure that holds us back, or the guarded inability to express love openly. If generational trauma is this deep, then why has this become so normal? This is a question that many people don't have the answer to. Well, the reason is this is normalized because it's all you've known. If you grew up in a home where love was expressed through actions but never words, then saying I love you might feel unnatural to you. If you were taught that crying is a sign of weakness, then vulnerability might make you uncomfortable. For example, maybe your parents have never had deep conversations with you. So now you struggle to communicate in relationships. You're not able to have that conversation or keep that connection because you've never known what it feels like to have a deep conversation. Survival isn't the same as living. And let me tell you why. What helped your ancestors or parents to survive their hardships may not be what helps you thrive. They adapted to their circumstances, but you have the power to create new patterns. Many of us grew up in households where silence was a form of protection. Maybe speaking up led to conflict, punishment, or being dismissed. Over time, you learned that staying quiet was the safest option. But silence also keeps you from expressing your needs, setting boundaries, and forming deep connections. It creates a pattern where you suppress emotions rather than address them. But this wasn't practiced before because priority was given to just survival and not living. Living means finding your voice, even if it shakes. Similarly, when emotions like sadness, fear, or frustrations weren't welcomed in childhood, anger often becomes the default response. It's strong, protective, and shields us from deeper vulnerabilities. Maybe you saw anger being used as a tool for control or a defense mechanism, so you subconsciously adopted it. But anger, when left unchecked, damages relationships, isolates you, and keeps you in a cycle of absolute hurt. But this wasn't practiced before because priority was given to just survival and not living. Living means recognizing what's underneath the anger. Just as these two examples I pointed out here, if they endured silence, you can choose communications. If they lived in anger, you can choose emotional understanding. If they had avoided problems, you can choose healing. You are not bound by your past. You have the choice to live, not just survive. Healing from generational trauma isn't easy, but it's not impossible. Now, some of you may think, now that you have the wisdom to understand generational trauma and heal from it, blaming your ancestor is the best thing to do. But let me tell you, healing isn't about blaming. It's about understanding. It's about recognizing that our parents and grandparents did the best they could with what they had. They did what was best for their knowledge in those days. If they never learned how to communicate, how could they have taught you? They simply passed down what they knew. And now you have the power to decide what you want to continue. The power you have now, I would say, you have to use it wisely. You don't have to pass down what hurt you. You don't have to repeat what never worked. And you get to choose a new path. The best part about you choosing to heal, if you ask me, is that you start to embrace life and all the emotions with it. You are allowed to feel everything without any judgments, without any barriers. Imagine passing this down to your next generation. Isn't that a great step? If you never learned how to communicate, start studying healthy communication. If you never experienced love, start practicing it yourself. If you kept sadness to yourself, try sharing it with a friend. You'll see how light your chest would feel. And most importantly, as I mentioned before, forgive those before you, not for them, but for yourself. Carrying anger within you keeps you in the cycle you're trying to break. Healing is hard, I know. But if this is the first step you're taking to let go of the wounds of the past, you can be a new beginning. I hope this video gave you a moment to pause and reflect on the effects of generational trauma and the new pathway you could open if you decide to break that cycle. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.